Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Hazika binti Azizi and this is our group's internal control presentation. This is our members. It consists of Ma'ainin Sofia, me Nur Hazika, Aina Jiha and lastly Nurul Hanis. The company that we had interviewed is Khairi Consult Sendirian Berhad, which has the address of the followings at Selangor, Malaysia. And the number phone, fax and email are listed in the slide. Khairi Consult Sendirian Berhad was founded in 1994 to offer management and consulting services in the field of civil engineering. However, in 2019, mechanical and electrical engineering were added into the company's offering. The company has provided the highest engineering standard projects, which include highway and transportation, water resources and information, bridge, environmental, geotechnical engineering, building structure, land development, and lastly, technical engineering. This is about our interviewer. Her name is Siti Noraisha binti Hashim and she is an accountant in Khairi Consult Sendirian Berhad. When we had the interview session with her, she was a welcoming person and she was very kind towards us. Let's move to the interview questions. The first aspect is control environment. Our question is, do the management give security training to the employees? And how do they train the employees? Khairi Consult Sendirian Berhad stated that they do have security training based on their ISO 14001. The respective team will need to attend a security staff which will then they will have a internal course to educate their colleague.
Next, we moving on to our next aspect, which is risk assessment. One of the questions that we ask them are, how does the management determine whether a control is cost beneficial? Before KCSB implement new method of control, all the team leaders need to do their cost beneficial analysis. Our third aspect is control activities. The question is, how often does the management modify or change the company system to avoid fraud? Until cases remember have the proven result, they will always modify the system to avoid any uneven circumstance. Our fourth aspect will be information and communication. The one and only question that we ask them is, what software does the company use to monitor systems activities and how does the software work? According to KCSB, they are using semantics monitoring. Semantics monitoring is a robust system monitoring software. At a glance, you will get a valuable insight into the monitoring applications, servers, database, process, and many more. Semantics monitoring also delivers actionable visibility and orchestration platforms like Docker Swarm and Nomad. Semantics monitoring also incredible lightweight, which means it will fit well into your current stack. It's also offer 100 integration for popular application framework such as MySQL, PostgreSQL, JVM, and many more. It's also constantly on lookout for the well-being of your system. When any of the issue detected, you will immediately be notified through the alerts and notification via webhooks. By using the specific integration alerting services, integration with leading system alerting services like PagerDuty, Ops Genie, and Splunk On Call. It also can be used with Semantics platform, so you will never miss anything. For our second last aspect, which is monitoring, We asked them whether the company stored data files in an offsite location, and their answer is yes, but there is no further explanation about that. And lastly, in preventive, detective, and corrective control aspect, we one of the question is the company access to assets restricted, and who has the access to assets? They said that the HODs are the responsible person who can access to their assets.
Based on our interview with Khairi Consult Sendirian Berhad, the internal control assessment in the aspect of control environment, the first one is strength. Their strength is they practice segregate several duties, a centralized authority, and modify the system to avoid any uneven circumstances. The weakness are negligence in managing and taking care of the well-being of the lower employee, and considering the fact that the company had once faced fraud. The improvement that they can take is any initiative to make the higher ups show concern and taking interest for the lower employees. The second improvement that they can do is help in improving their relationship between them and know well about their employees' work detail.
Move on to the next one, which is risk assessment. In terms of strength, there are 4 points. The first one, they had a security training for their company. The second one, they store the data files in an offsite location, which is located near the company but not in the current building. The third one, they did not hire any outsider to manage their asset because they want to prevent the theft of the asset. And the last one, uh, installation of CCTV in the building so that there were no leak of information. In terms of weaknesses, we found out that the company overlooked the paper asset like the bank statement or the client information. It's somehow they are more focusing on securing digital data rather than a paper asset. In terms of improvement, we think that maybe they could filing the data in a proper way so that there will no be misplace of the data, and then they might need to hire new employees so that they could specifically handle the paper document and focusing on their job.
Next is the internal control assessment in control activities aspect. The strength that we found in KCSB is that they perform internal control evaluations to their employees. Other than that, if a new control were implemented, the team leader of each department will make their own cost beneficial analysis, and only the head of department or HOD had access to the assets. And there is also a few weaknesses that we found in KCSB control internal control, which is the document was forged because it happens when they take it simply for small transaction. So we had give some improvement for them to make. Firstly, they could make an investigation for the people who had access to assets management. KCSB also could consider someone in a higher position to be the approval for a request for access to enter the assets section.
Continuing to the next one, which is information and technology. In terms of strength, the company makes sure that their technology and system is up to date to ensure there will be no error during the process. The second one, there are two ways for the company to receive any information. The first one from the direct tender, and the second one is from indirect tender. In terms of direct tender, the company will receive directly an email from the client and the secretary will show it to the CEO. If the indirect tender, the outsider client will take an interest in company website, and if they are sure that the company could handle their project, they will send out letter or emails. In terms of weaknesses, after interviewing with the company, we managed to find out that there are three times the company failed to get their job offer. This happened when in the changing of the era, when we need to apply for the job tender. The company had applied for three projects under the JKR, and what happened is that the JKR already secured a spot for the tenders. But when the result came out, their company was not listed out in the tenders. And in terms of improvement, I think that maybe there is some problem happen. So first they need to detect whether the problem is from the tender or the company itself. If it was from the company, they might need to assign HOD of admin to refer the application first before it were sent out. And if it keep happens, then they need to refer back to the tenders to ensure whether there is any problem regarding their application. The last one would be monitoring activities. In terms of strength, the company had their own system of monitoring, which is known as Samatex monitoring. Samatex monitoring is a powerful system that monitors software and provide a real-time visibility about the deployment, whether they are on premise or on the cloud. And it's kind of hard to know their weaknesses. We found out that one of the weaknesses is limited support for transaction tracing. When they want to upload the transaction data to the cloud, there might some data that were missing from the cloud that was shown to the company, and this might cause another theft of the asset because the company will not know what exactly the transaction for. In terms of improvement, the only option is that each transaction might need to pass some check up first before the data was stored, because the monitor program is already been used for a long time. So if they changing it to another system, it's kind of hard to make sure that their employees are okay with it.
So the next one is measures to prevent and detect fraud and computer abuse. So Career Consult Sedenbat is a small company, but although it is a small company, they do implement internal control. So the first internal control is preventive controls. The first one is segregation of employees' duty. So Career Consult Sedenbat does imply segregation of employees' duty to avoid any misleading in the system, and also that the employee won't abuse their power. The second one is security training. So the company also have security training based on the company's ISO 14001. The respective team will have to attend the training to train the other staffs. And the third one is access to assets are restricted. Only head of departments are accessible to the assets. And then the last one is access to CCTV are restricted. Only IT department and head of departments are accessible to the CCTV. The second one is detective controls. So Career Consult Sedang Berhad implement centralization of authority, and they have a matrix reporting relationship. The staff will have to report to multiple leaders, such as reporting to both the project manager and HOD. And the company also perform internal control evaluation to the company. The head of department will evaluate the employees. Each departments have their own standard of procedure, so they will um, evaluate the employees based on their each department. And then lastly, the third one is corrective controls. So once they had an employee who breached his duty by committing fraud, which the employee forged a receipt, and then the company found out about that, and they starting from there they decided to change their standard of procedure, and the employee was fired.
To conclude, any significant business needs internal control to protect asset, guarantee legal, regulatory compliance, and preserve the accuracy of financial reporting. Strong internal control are becoming more than just a legal need for big businesses by time. So therefore, a large corporation is exposed to variety of risks and bad outcomes when it comes to the lack of efficient internal control. In a nutshell of this assignment, we could say that we learn a lot of good things about internal control and the bad things that could happen if we do not do it greatly.